Hello, welcome back to another day in the arena. It is me, it's CGB, and welcome to a new series that I'm doing. I call this series The Adventures of Young CGB. Why? You'll see why. I've got an account here. It is new. It is fresh and squeaky clean. And what we're going to do here is we're going to build the starter decks, and I'm going to play through the experience, the MTG arena experience, without putting any money into the game. We're going to grind completely from scratch. I do have 10,000 gold. This might have been like I don't know if you get 10,000 gold for joining the game. This may have been given to me because of the stress test reward, which was something they did a few weeks ago, but I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. We're starting with 10,000 gold. Let's roll with it, okay? But yeah, what we've got is a fresh new account, and to show you both the starter builds and then how we bridge the gap between those starter builds and top tier decks and fun decks and things like that, I'm going to play it exactly as somebody doing a complete free-to-play experience would play it. Now, some of my rewards and some of my packs, I'm going to open some cards that are different from what you may open, but I hope that more than the exactly what to do, you'll be able to learn kind of how I prioritize things and how I approach getting through the arena and getting the most I can out of the arena. My plan is to spend not much more than an hour a day on this account. My plan is also to always play any games I play. I want to do it recorded. So no offline grinding. You'll come back here and see all of a sudden 1 million gems. So no money, no offline play. You get to watch the complete evolution of the account, and hopefully it can help you apply to your work in Magic the Gathering. Whether you know Magic and are returning to it and trying this new arena thing, or whether you have never played Magic before, I hope you'll get some value out of this. All right, where am I going to start first? I'm going to start in settings. I have some really strong opinions about settings, and a lot of this is to feel. That's for sure. We saw that I put up a tutorial video. If you want to see me play the tutorial, you can go back and watch that. At this point, the tutorial is finished. But in settings, on graphics, yeah. Graphics is fine. Where's the gameplay settings? Interesting. Maybe I have to adjust those in the game. Never mind. Immediate punt on the open. Fine. We'll get into deck building. And what to do. So first things first, let's go down here and look at our quests. We got 750 to kill 25 of opponent's creatures. I'm confident in that. We have attack with 30 creatures, and we have 20 black or green spells. I'm going to re-roll this. You should re-roll a 500 quest once a day for a chance at a 750. Never re-roll a 750, but try to get more 750s. All right, so we got another 500. That happens, but there's no reason not to try to get more gold quests. We also have this quest over here. If we play 30 lands, we unlock a deck. I'll be going through these decks, the reward decks, and making them better as we go as well. And we've got this, we got our win bonuses for the day. So we're going to start with building the most competitive deck that I think we can build, and it's going to be very simple. I went into my Discord. You can also find this on YouTube. I copied the red-black starter deck. So the trick is you highlight and copy it to your clipboard, and then on this screen you hit this import button. The deck is successfully imported. Here it is. That was easy, wasn't it? Let's take a quick look. Bomat Courier, Inventor's Apprentice, Shocks, Scrapheap Scrounger, Kari, Strike, Hearts, Pias, Unlicensed, Harvesters, blah, 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 blah. Are there any changes I need to make is what I want to check out right now. And I think I'm pretty happy with this. I don't think it can go too wrong. I'm a little worried about all the spires, just a little, but it's no big deal. And the 3 Pias, sometimes I worry that I'll draw too many of those legendaries, but I feel ready. I feel like this is a very good deck, and I'm confident battling with it. All right. So now we're going to go to the home screen, and we're going to get into the formats. So let's review the formats really quickly. So Brewers Delight. Do not play the red-black starter deck or the mono-red starter deck in Brewers Delight. just don't be a jerk. Brewers Delight is something that's very helpful to getting some rares, and we're going to use it in the future, but it is for different decks. Red-Black and Red Aggro are some of the most played, monotonous, repetitive decks that exist. We do not want to play them in Brewers Delight. It's just rude to everybody involved. We'll play our sweet brews in Brewers Delight, and I'll help. I think the green deck, if you want to jump right into a Brewers Delight, is perfect for it. The blue deck, it's control-y, but it's different, so I wouldn't be too against it. But don't play the red deck. Don't play red-black. That makes you a jerk. There's no reason to do that. So we're going to stay out of Brewer's Delight right now. Competitive constructed. This is best 2 out of 3. So I'm going to make some assumptions. I'm going to make a few assumptions here between you and me right now about your goals. And if we're on the same page, great. We're going to go into monologue mode with CGB. So right now, Magic and Magic Arena have positioned themselves as a skill game, and that means they reward winning. Almost everything you do here is rewarded for winning. Therefore, we have to win. Therefore, we have to be somewhat competitive. And I'm going to assume that you want to get those rewards right off the bat. There's only a few things you can win. Like you can get some of these quests. Like these quests don't involve winning, but actually winning the game. That's what gets you all these daily rewards, okay? And we want as much of those as possible because that's going to build our collection very quickly, all right? So I'm going to assume first that you need to be competitive some of the time to get your daily win rewards. I'll show you how to do that. Then I'm going to assume that what you also want are the cards. To unlock more cards, to play more cards. It's what makes Magic great, more cards. And that leads to more different decks, more sweet brews, more design stuff, which is more fun. It's really the funnest part of Magic is learning how to use all these cards in cool, interesting ways. That's why the channel I do has so much variety. That's why I've played the game for over 20 years. That's why it's the best game. So I'm going to assume that you want more cards. So we're going to be competitive for part of our day, for some of our time. We're going to be competitive to get us the gold that we use to get more cards. Once we get more cards, we're going to work on the fun interactive strategies so that you don't only have to be competitive. The big reason I'm showing you events right now is because I need to show you where to be competitive and where to be fun. All right, for the best bang for your buck, for the most out of your time. So let's get back into it really quick. Competitive draft. I was on competitive constructed. Now you would think since I just said competitive, I should jump right into this. Competitive Constructed is a best 2 out of 3 format, and it involves sideboarding. Sideboarding is one of the more complicated and nuanced skills in Magic, and I don't want you to worry too much about that now. There will be plenty of time to as you build up your collection and get your feet wet. Right now, let's work on making great 60 card decks and getting as many wins in best of 1 as possible. So we're going to hold off and not even go into Competitive Constructed, not for a while. Competitive draft is the same thing. Drafting is a whole different skill set. It's a very skill-intensive part of Magic, how to draft a good deck. And I want to get into it someday, but for a new player, if we have the same goals in mind, the first thing I want you to do is build up that collection, get some wins under your belt, and get used to Constructed. So I do not recommend building your collection with draft. It's counterproductive for a number of reasons. You can actually decrease your draft skills trying to draft cards you want to own. It's also just as random, and it's more expensive. So I would stay out of competitive draft. Free play. You would think that this is your bread and butter and that this is where you should play most of your matches. And I'm going to tell you straightforward that it is not. Free play has the lowest reward per game. The lowest reward per game. You can work on your quests and you can get your win bonuses. But I'm going to show you that there is a better way to do it. You can go to free play if you're, say, testing a deck, trying something out. Or if you're on absolute 0 gold, this is where you have to go. But we'll get into other things. Competitive play. Well, doesn't it make sense, CGB, that you would go to competitive play? Again, when you see competitive, think best 2 out of 3. When you see the word competitive, think sideboards. Think, we don't really want to get into that right now. It's hard enough to build a 60-card awesome deck with what we're given. To make it 75 is just more complexity, more complication. And yes, we're not going to be afraid of it. We're going to get into it someday. But let's do one thing at a time. Let's make a good deck of 60 cards. Let's play it pretty well. Let's do it in best of 1 so that, you get your wins, you get your losses, you get your gold. It's a quicker grind. And then we'll move into some other things later. Same thing with quick draft. This is a best of one draft, but it's still draft, so we want to stay out of that. Quick constructed. This is, in my opinion, where you take your competitive deck, your red aggro, your red-black aggro, your black aggro, the decks that are the better ones. You enter these, and you get the most bang for your buck. You're working your way towards 7 wins, or 3 losses, whichever comes first. You get additional card rewards. You can double the gold you put in, and all your games, just with all of these, but in Quick Constructed too, count towards your rewards. So you get more out of your game. If you only play in free play, all you're really playing for are your quests and your rewards. If you play in Quick Constructed and you play something competitive, you have a chance to not only bank these rewards at the same time, but also earn in-game prizes at the same time. So this is where we're going to spend most of our time on the grind. So right off the bat, 95 gems, we ain't got that. But 500 gold, we got that. So we're going to kick it off. And we're going to pick out the black-red starter deck. I think it's the most competitive, and we're going to get right into some games. You've probably heard me talk enough by now. Let's see the gameplay. So in-game, we're going to focus on using this deck to the best of our ability, because while I'm excited that so many of you have adopted this deck and played with this deck, it is not always the easiest if you're new to Magic. There are several cards that do things that you don't see in many other places in Magic the Gathering. So that's what's up. We're going to try to show how to play this deck very well, because I think that this is, in all likelihood, your best deck for the grind. As we go, we'll try to upgrade it. Okay, so I like this hand. We've got 2 red sources and 1 source that can produce black as long as we have an artifact. This is an artifact. Unlicensed can kill something as long as we have black. This can make black. And we have 2 lightning strikes. I would really like another creature, but I'm going to keep this one. It seems perfectly fine. Bomat Courier, also one of these cards that for new players is odd. The thing that it does, putting cards underneath it, is very strange for some people. We're going to lead with a mountain. I always like to give away as little information about my non-basic lands as possible. So starting with probably both these mountains. If you played a Spire of Industry too early, the opponent will realize that this artifact is helping you turn on your colored mana and kill it. And if you play an Aether Hub too early, the opponent might try to figure out that you're prioritizing energy. So this is an Elfhelm Druid. It taps for mana. Whenever an opponent on turn 1 or turn 2 plays a creature that taps for more mana, it makes the ability to play larger, more dangerous threats. And you can assume their deck is built around playing bigger threats than you have. So it makes a lot of sense to kill it as soon as you see it, on your turn, not on your opponent's turn. It is a very common mistake that since something can be played at instant speed, to hang on to it until the last minute. But when something can produce mana and your opponent plays on turn 1 or 2, I highly recommend you immediately kill it. The slang in Magic for this is Bolt the Bird. Now this is not a bird, but the very first creature that kind of created this need to kill it was a card called Birds of Paradise that did a very similar effect for 1 mana. Now, after turn 3, like our opponent just played this Llanowar Elf here on turn 3, it is much more questionable if we want to kill this elf. It is not nearly as dangerous now as it would have been on turn 1 or 2, because the advantage that it gives drops off. So the question is, what do we want to do? We have the option of killing our opponent's creature or developing our board with more threats. And I think that more threats is a good answer right now. So the closer we get to sacrificing this Bomat Courier, the more I want to play my non-basic lands now, because I don't want to end up discarding them to the Bomat Courier. So I'm going to play the Hub. I'm still going to hide the Spire of Industry. And I'm going to play the Pia Nalaar to get another creature on the board. We can work on killing this Untamed Kavu later. And this 1/1 isn't likely to have a big effect, or at least hopefully will not. It's no longer worth spending your whole turn killing it. It was just a 1/1 for 1 mana. And the mana returns of getting that early ramp go down significantly after turn 3. The Flying Thopter has evasion, which is excellent. It can start attacking in. We also don't mind our opponent killing our Pia Nalaar. We have more of them in the deck, and as a legendary creature, you can only have 1 on the battlefield at a time. So our opponent lightning striking the Pia Nalaar isn't too bad. A Githu Chronicler, if they had kicked it, they could have returned the Lightning Strike to their hand, but they did not have enough mana. They would have if we let them keep their Elfham Druid, so that feels good. It does mean our Bomat Courier won't attack it anytime soon. That is sad, and so is the fact that we drew another land. But we'll probably spend a turn or two killing our opponent's best threats. So let's attack with the Thopter. It can't be blocked. Let's play the Spire of Industry, and let's end the turn. This is what we call a mana flood, when you draw more lands than spells you can cast. And right now, we are at 5 spells and 6 lands. So we need that to clear up soon. The Bomat Courier has 2 cards under it. We'll try to get those in the near future. Here comes an attack step. So this is one of the more weird things in Magic that you'll see players do who are experienced. We have 18 life. That's a lot of life. So I'm not going to block, and I'm going to take the damage, even though I have a removal spell in my hand that I could play. Why? Because I want to kill my opponent's best creature. So I'm waiting till my end step to see if they play anything better. It's actually worth the 2 or 1 life point from this hit to find out if my opponent played a 6/6, for example, right now, it would be much better to kill the 6/6. So now that we are on the end step, instead of paying a life, I'll pay an energy. We don't have that many uses for it in the deck. So we make black mana, and we'll play, well, we don't need to actually do an Unlicensed Disintegration here. We can just do a Lightning Strike. It's fine. We'll Lightning Strike the Kavu. Okay, a Walking Ballista is an excellent draw here. It can take advantage of these extra lands we have lying around. We're going to manually tap here. So settings. Okay, I talked about gameplay settings. I use auto tap, and I always leave it on. So if you want to tap manually ahead of time to leave something like a particular color open, like we want a mountain open for this Bomat Courier in case we have to use it, then all you have to do is pre-tap. Go tap the lands in advance. That are the ones that might be complicated, that the computer might leave open, and then auto tap can take care of the rest. So we'll remove a counter, we'll kill this Llanowar Elf. Forgive me if I'm talking through some of this kind of fast. Don't be afraid to either A, rewind the video and watch it again, or B, post in the comments or post in my Discord channel under new player questions the timestamp of what I was talking about. And if you need me to explain it more, just kind of, ask your question. Like, what do you mean by this, this, and this? I will try to help you out and get back to it. Walking Ballista is so good because it's good if you only have 2 mana, because you can just play it for 1. But if you have a ton of mana, like we do in this situation, it just becomes bigger and bigger and more threatening. Our opponent has a Virix Bladewing, so a 4/4 dragon. And that's why we use the Lightning Strike on the smaller creature, the Kavu, because now we saved an Unlicensed Disintegration for this dragon. And that's going to be pretty sweet. We don't need another Spire of Industry. We don't have many black cards in the deck. If we have 1 source, we're usually very happy, so I'm going to leave it in my hand. And we're going to use the energy for black. Tap this for colorless. We're going to Unlicensed Disintegration down the dragon. It kills it regardless of its size and deals 3 damage to the opponent. What a glorious time. Now I'm going to attack with the Thopter, but I'm still going to hold back the Bomat Courier. I'm not in a rush to crack it and get these cards. As long as we have the mana open, we can get it anytime. Well, that's not true. I really do want these cards, and I may as well take them now before my opponent has a mana to somehow interact with it. So I'm going to show you the trick. What we're going to do is attack with the Bomat Courier. We could also attack with this, but I really want the Ballista to stay on the field. And the Bomat Courier is going to trigger and put another card underneath it. We're going to wait till our opponent blocks. So here comes the block. Now, before our Bomat Courier dies and damage is dealt, we're going to sacrifice it. And that's going to put 4 new cards into our hand. And having more cards is often the real way to win in Magic the Gathering. It's called card advantage. And if you have more cards at If you have more cards going on, both on the battlefield and in your hand, that's usually considered a big advantage in Magic the Gathering. That's why Bomat Courier is such a good card. It's not just those little one hits you do every single turn. It's the fact that you can sacrifice it later and suddenly you have a bunch more cards. All right, Heart of Kiran off the top is good. Another land gives us up to 8, which means we can play a Walking Ballista for 4, which can kill the Chronicler, but I don't think that's very important. I think what I really want to do is put out this Heart of Kiran and then a 3-power Ballista. Our opponent's at 11, so he's close to dead. We can also see if our opponent blocks this Ballista, and if they do, we can double pump it. But that takes our whole turn. I really do want this Heart of Kiran to be on the board at the end of this turn. So I'm going to continue to hold back the Ballista and just attack with these creatures. It's important to remember Scrapheap Scrounger can't block, so you may as well be attacking most of the time. All right. Colorless. So we did some pre-tapping there to make sure we tapped correctly. I want to leave this Spire open. It can produce black mana. If our Scrapheap dies, we want to get it back later. All right, and do we want to play another Ballista for 2? Or we can just activate this Ballista. I think I can put out my Bomat Courier and just have it on the battlefield. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to use all your mana every turn. We could have attacked with it if we had played it sooner, but we don't want to attack with it right now. It's perfectly fine hanging out. But the more of your mana you use, the more mana efficient is the term you are. So it's important to understand, Heart of Kiran, the vehicle. I've seen this one misplayed a lot. You can tap creatures to crew it. That has to be a total power of 3. So I'm going to show you here in a second. Like, we could tap a Ballista plus Bomat Courier. That would be 3. That would crew this Heart of Kiran. Then it could block. We don't have to only tap a creature of a power 3, but right now the Scrapheap Scrounger could crew it, or a combination of the Ballista and the Thopter or the Bomat Courier could crew it. However, there is another way to crew it, which is Chandra, Torch of Defiance, a Planeswalker. You'll see here that there is an ability here on Chandra. Fire, huh? We'll remove a loyalty counter from a Planeswalker rather than crew it. So we're going to pick our Planeswalker and submit. All right. Now we will plus our Chandra. It will reveal our top card. Today's my lucky day. And since it was a land, we'll deal 2 damage to our opponent. The first ability, exile top card, you may cast it. We didn't. If you don't, 2 damage to an opponent, 2 damage. So now our opponent's at 5, and they have no flying blockers. So we'll go to combat, and we'll send in the 5 points of flying damage. And that is an even Stevens lethal. That will end the game. Of course, other options like using Walking Ballista to deal damage to the opponent are there as well. But that'll be our first win here. And we'll continue our adventures. So we also, you notice, got 250 gold for our first win of the day. Then there's also rewards down here, where you see when we get our first win, we now get 200 gold and 3 cards. And that continues to increase. 300 gold, 400 gold and 3 cards, 500 gold, 3 cards, 600 gold, 3 cards, 800 gold, 3 cards. 1,000 gold, 3 cards. What we really are trying to get is at least 4 wins, you make your money back, and you get more cards. When you get to 7 wins, you double your money, and you get the cards. So if we have a competitive build, and I know this red-black deck is competitive, even against opponents in higher ranks, like this is a silver rank opponent, we will be fine. Not with this hand, though. It only has 1 land. Sometimes you're just unlucky, and you have to mulligan. I'm also going to try to play faster the more games we play. I'm going to try, and this is hard for me, but I'm going to try to not to cover something more than once. So if I cover it for you once, I'm not going to try to talk about it again. Bomat Courier is interesting. Drawing it next turn is a lot worse than drawing it this turn. At the same time, it can provide card advantage, which can undo a mulligan. But it's a pretty low impact card, and we have a Skysovereign in our hand, which makes us want to get to 5 mana. I'm going to bottom it. I feel very weird about that, but I think it's the right play given that we can't play it on turn 1. It's on top of the deck, not in our hand. So anytime you mulligan, you get a scry, which means you look at your top card and can put it either on the bottom or top. Just as a little, like, we're sorry you had to mulligan. Randomness was rude to you. Try this. Maybe it'll help your next draw. Our opponent might be on blue-white control, which is definitely a very hard matchup and a very good deck. And you might see that I don't stick around for too much of the game, but we'll see how it goes. If blue-white control, it takes a very, very long time to win. So if I am convinced at any point that I'm unlikely to win the game, I'm very likely to leave the game and go play a different game. Let's see what happens here if we attack. Okay, more damage. So our opponent has this mana open. It implies to me that they have a counter spell. I could play the Chandra, but it's likely to get countered. So I'm going to play the Ballista. If they counter that, I don't feel as bad. But, okay, they don't counter it at all. The Chandra is a very threatening card that can do a lot of damage, and it's not a creature. Here comes Ixalan's Binding. That is going to lock our Scrapheap Scroungers out for the rest of the game. As long as the Binding is in play, we can't cast more Scroungers. I have an interesting option. I could use the Ballista to kill the Scrounger. If I do that, I could still draw other Scroungers, and I can get the Scrounger back later. But I don't deal any damage to my opponent next turn, and I think dealing damage to the opponent is more important. So I'm actually going to let this resolve. We may regret that. If I draw more of my Scrapheap Scroungers, I'll feel pretty bad. But instead we drew more Chandras, which we're going to play. And we're going to tap this. Well, we can use the energy. There aren't a lot of uses for our energy. There's nothing wrong with using it to play some spells. And if our opponent...
I know. Yup. You're going down.
If our opponent doesn't have another Ixalan's Binding, we're in a good place. If they do, we're in a very bad place because of this other Chandra in our hand. Let's see what our opponent has. They're going to play a Sequestered Stash, which is a weird one. I'm not going to worry too much about this card until they activate it. Top 5 cards of your library into the graveyard, then an artifact from your graveyard on top of your library. I don't see any artifacts, so I find it very weird. Okay, Aethersphere Harvester is a good draw. So do we want to make mana and try to deploy something like a Skysovereign or a Harvester or not? I think we just want to plus and continue dealing damage or playing spells, gaining card advantage in kind of a weird way.
This is gonna hurt.
All right. Let's send in the Ballista. Ooh, our opponent's going very low on life total. Okay. I expect what we play here to get countered, so I'm not actually going to play anything. I'm going to end the turn, and my plan is to put another counter on this Ballista if our opponent does nothing. They're going to cycle the Censor, so that's something that could have countered something if we tapped out. So this game we've shown you, our opponent hasn't played too many things to be fair, but playing around counter magic is often not just about playing what's in your hand. When you have a board advantage and you have things you can do on the board with your mana, then doing that instead of playing what's in your hand is often smart. So this is what we're going to do with our mana, is pump this Walking Ballista. And there we go. Opponent's at 6. We're trying to close them out. Well, they're going to concede. They likely have a hand with many counter spells that they don't feel like they get to use. So by just not playing spells and keep building up our Ballista, they don't feel like they can win. If you're curious about the packs, I am going to open my packs and build up my collection so that we can have this full experience of trying to craft out the collection. I'm going to do it at the end of the video. At the end of the video. Also, these videos are going to tend to be longer, as I'm often going to play full events, do a bit more grinding. Like I said, since I don't want to play any of my games off of video, it makes sense to have longer videos so that we get a full experience. I think that most people are going to keep to about an hour, a little more, a little less a day, is what I would guess for new players to do in MTG Arena, with the tryhards grinding much, much more than that. So I'm going to try to stick to about somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and a half a day. So bear with me. I know it's longer than my other videos, but if you are a new player and you want to get better at the game, I think it will be good content to make time for. If you grind for an hour of the day and you either have my video on in the background or you watch my video closely and then grind for another hour of the day, I think you'll get much more out of it than if you were just jamming game after game after game. All right. So the Viashino Pyromancer does 2 damage to us. It looks like our opponent's also on a burn type build. Next turn I want to play my Ballista and remove 1 counter to kill it while still having my Ballista. And we want to save the Lightning Strike, so we'll play Scrapheap Scrounger. Since it has 3 power, it can crew Heart of Kiran all on its own to make sure we attack with Heart of Kiran this turn. And let's send it in. I don't want to send my Bomat Courier. I do think my opponent would block, and I want to save these 2 cards for later. I don't want to lose them right now, because we might need them. If the opponent blocked, I would not want to sacrifice Bomat Courier. It makes you discard your hand first. So these 3 would go to the graveyard, 2 would come to our hand. More is better when it comes to cards. So trading 2 cards for 3 cards, probably not a good play unless you really hate those 3 cards. If these were terrible cards, we'd consider it. There's the Pyromancer getting in. We'll take that hit. Right now we're in a race. Our opponent's going to Lightning Strike the Bomat Courier. That's actually great. Dealing 3 damage to the Bomat Courier and letting that go is much better than our opponent dealing 3 damage to us or 3 damage to our Scrounger. We drew an Unlicensed Disintegration, which is an excellent draw. We're going to stick to the Walking Ballista play. Play it for 2. We're going to remove a token when we need to kill this Pyromancer, but there's no need to do it right now. We can do it at instant speed, so we're going to save it. Let's activate the Scrapheap Scrounger to crew Heart of Kiran. Scrapheap Scrounger could attack here for 3, but Heart of Kiran attacks for 4. Let's do 4. We are in a race. We're trying to maintain that we are the aggressive deck, so we want to do the max amount of damage each turn that's freely available to do. I expect my opponent will untap and try to kill this Ballista. When they do, in response, we'll kill the Pyromancer and we'll go face. So they're going to target the Scrounger. That is okay. We can make black mana with our Aether Hub and get it back because we have a Bomat Courier in our graveyard. Scrapheap Scrounger, for 1 black, exile target creature from a graveyard to return to the battlefield. It's what makes this card so good, and it's honestly a major reason we're playing black. You might think it's for this Unlicensed Disintegration. Unlicensed Disintegration's okay, but getting back Scrapheap Scrounger, as you're about to see, is awesome. So now our opponent is attacking. We'll remove this counter. We'll kill the Pyromancer. Now they have no cards on the battlefield. We're way ahead in the race. We drew another Scrapheap Scrounger. Instead of use our only black source, I'm just going to play this Scrounger from my hand instead. It's going to crew Heart of Kiran. We're going to get in for 5 damage. And we're going to be 1 short of lethal on this turn. If we can go Lightning Strike to face, and we probably will at the end of our opponent's turn. We can wait. We don't have to do it right now. But before the turns switch, before it comes back to us, it's important to use your mana if you can. Here is a Goblin Chain Whirler. That'll deal 1 damage to us and 1 damage to each creature, which means we can sacrifice this Walking Ballista and do a damage to our opponent's face. Chain Whirler resolves. We'll go upstairs with the Lightning Strike. It could also kill the Chain Whirler, but there's not a big reason to. And our opponent will scoop it up. I take that back. We probably should have killed the Chain Whirler because we have a quest to kill so many creatures of our opponents. That is accurate. Attack with 30 creatures, 20 red or white spells. We're casting plenty of red spells, and kill 25 of our opponent's creatures. So there was a reason there. I often forget my quest reasons. Another goal that I'm going to take with the account is not to use gold for packs and try to use gold for events as much as possible. But at some amount, like if we're winning too many events, then there's no reason not to put your gold back into packs. Your gold can either go to events or packs. And if it goes to events, but it comes back double because we're winning so much in events, we may as well buy packs. So I haven't decided how I'm going to do that or how often. This has 4 mana. We can have turn 2 Heart, turn 3 Chandra, or turn 3 Scrap, turn 4 Chandra. That is a pretty good for a 4-land hand. The problem is that we're letting our opponents have turns 1, 2, and 3 to do whatever they want. If they are also an aggressive deck, we could be in trouble. This is one of those close and dangerous hands, but I'm going to keep it, and we're going to see what happens. And it does look like our opponent is aggressive. And, well, drawing a removal spell is a nice thing to draw, as we may end up in a position where we have to use it very early. Here it comes, the Pride Mate. So our opponent with the quick cat opening. Once they have a third creature, whenever they attack with this, they gain a life. Or not, whenever at the beginning of their combat step, they gain a life, which pumps this Pride Mate, which is going to be very scary very fast. This is not going to be a race we can win. So our last game, we were very much trying to race. This game, we are very much going to be trying to slow our opponent down and control the board, which makes the right play on turn 2 the Heart of Kiran. And you'll see why in a few turns, but we can crew it with Chandra. So when Chandra does come down, okay. Well, our opponent didn't play a third creature. That's very lucky. I would have felt really priced into using an unlicensed disintegration this turn, but we don't have to. Since it kills things of any size, it can wait. So I think the best play for this turn is this Pia Nalaar, which makes it very hard for our opponent to attack. We could attack for 4, but I don't think that's the right play. Again, I don't think we can race a deck that's going to gain a lot of life. I think we need to take out its bigger threats like this Pride Mate and try to control the board. So I'm going to end the turn there. Another card that's very dangerous is Crested Sunmare. Alright, but our opponent, if they miss this land drop, if they just have 3 lands on the battlefield at the end of this turn, we'll feel pretty good. So our opponent with those life gain triggers, here they are. And that makes a 4/4 out of a Johnny's Pride Mate. But they're not attacking. They don't want to trade with Heart of Kiran. So we staved off the attack. Now we want to kill this Pride Mate. So I'm going to play my land. And I'm going to play my Chandra Torch of Defiance. It uses most of our mana, and it is the best...
Hey, over here!
And is the most precise use. So Lightning Strike isn't enough to kill the Pride Mate. Unlicensed Disintegration does, but we may need it. If our opponent plays Crested Sunmare, this is one of the only ways to get rid of it. But Chandra, we can use the -3 to do 4 damage, so we're going to go after the Pride Mate.
Die.
Yep, and then we're going to keep our creatures back, because we want our Chandra to live. And again, we are not the aggressor here. We're not trying to win a race. We're playing a completely different role in this game than we have in the last 2 games. Our opponent has the bigger start. They have the deck that can deal more damage. We need to hang back and be careful.
No friend of mine fights alone.
So our opponent with a Johnny here, this is a really good play. They get back a Johnny, it triggers their Vanguards, it makes the Pride Mate back into a 4/4. So we're going to have to find a way to kill it again. Fortunately, we do have another way. I'm still worried about Sunmare, but there might not be enough that we can do about that. Now, our opponent could attack with the 2/2s, but it won't gain them much. So, on to our turn. Let's figure out how we're going to play this. We want very much to kill a Johnny. We also want to kill this Pride Mate. One thing I like here is, remember, Pia Nalaar is legendary. If we attack with Pia Nalaar and the opponent blocks it, we can use a Lightning Strike to kill the Pride Mate. Does that sacrifice our Chandra? Because then we play another Pia Nalaar with the mana from it, and then we still have Heart of Kiran and our Chandra back. That's really good, I think. And it either... So does that also still kill the Ajani? Yes. So we can kill the Ajani, and our opponent has to figure out if they're going to lose their Pride Mate. So let's see what happens here. This is a more advanced play. We'll attack like this and see if our opponent wants to put their Pride Mate in the way of the Pia Nalaar. It looks like an obvious block because they have a 4/4 and we have a 2/2, but we won't really miss Pia if she's gone. All right, the opponent takes the damage.
I will not back down. I will not be moved yet.
Okay, now we can hold up Unlicensed Disintegration. We definitely need to plus our Chandra here. So let's see what our top card is.
This will be easy.
We could have used the mana to play something, but I think it gives away our hand. So we see a shock. That's a good draw. We'll use it to take out a Vanguard. That prices our opponent into playing another creature, which makes it harder for them to do other things with their mana, like build a higher board. So they're going to go for a Sovereign. All right. So before attacks, before this triggers so that they don't gain the life, let's fire off the Unlicensed Disintegration on the Pride Mate, get it off the battlefield. This takes the Sovereign to a 3/3, which can be lightning struck next turn. Our opponent with this attack is a very foolish opponent. We can crew Heart of Kiran, remember, with Chandra. So even though we don't have an untapped creature, we can use the second ability, remove a loyalty counter from a planeswalker to block, which it gets people sometimes. And it's a really good thing to keep in mind. All right, so land for turn. We're definitely going to lightning strike this Pride Sovereign. We should probably do it before attacks. But first I'm going to plus the Chandra and see if we hit a removal spell that way, the same way we got the shock last turn.
Today's my lucky day.
All right, we did not. So let's fire off on this Sovereign. Let's play our Scrapheap Scrounger. And now this is called turning the corner. When you've eliminated your opponent's good starts and their best threats, you can start getting in for damage. When Magic players say turning the corner, that's what they talk about. So now we'll fire up our Heart of Kiran, and we'll send in all the team, because remember, Chandra can still protect herself by crewing Heart of Kiran. And we'll end the turn. So as you see, even though this is a starter deck, a lot of the cards here are pretty complicated. Reasonably complicated. And playing even with something that seems like kind of just a red aggressive beatdown deck, while it is powerful, there is a lot of play to it. I think there were a lot of places in this game for a player of any skill, including myself, to make missteps. This has been one of the tougher games I've played in a while with this deck. And you can see that why Magic considers itself a skill game is because things like this. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do some math for a moment, so I might be quiet while I do it. So we have lethal attacks. The opponent does have to block. And I think what I want to do, what we'll do is like this. We're going to play our Scrapheap Scrounger. There's a lot of possibilities here. We're going to take away our opponent's ability to block with the Pride Sovereign, right? No, they'll just block the Pia Nalaar, though. If they block the Pia Nalaar and take 8, 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess that's lethal if they only block the Pia Nalaar. No, it's not. I have to sacrifice an artifact. So first we're going to crew. All right. Let's see, if we sacked this and said you have to block with Sovereign, it'll just block here. But then our opponent goes to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They could go to 1. Let's see how they handle that, though. So sacrifice an artifact. We're going to say this creature can't block this turn. We're going to sacrifice this Scrounger. Now we're going to move to combat. We're going to attack with everybody and see how our opponent chooses to block. All right. I expected that might be the block. So I think since I can't kill my opponent, they're going to take 8. We could pump it to 9, 10, 11, but we need this gone so they can't make the cats. So I think we're just going to do damage this way. It's going to let us play this other Pia Nalaar, but also what we're going to do is send off our Torch of Defiance targeting the Vanguard, because there is already 2 damage on the Sovereign.
Help you, buddy.
So there, they both die. So now our opponent has no critters, and we play our other Pia Nalaar. And now with Pia Nalaar's ability to keep creatures from blocking, we should be able to end this game very easily next turn, despite the lifelink cats. It also helps with our kill all the creatures quest, of course. So let's... Oh, our opponent has seen enough. They're out of here. And the writing was on the wall for that particular game. All right, attack with 30 creatures, so 600 gold there. We're up to 4 wins already, so we've made our money back without even a loss yet. Let's keep getting it. And I'm going to try to play the games a little faster. That one was a little complicated and probably a good amount to learn. I will slow down if ever I think that there's a good learning opportunity. But the more we play this deck and the more we do this adventure with the CGB, the faster I think I can play it. Now, a lot of, like, the question I'm asked the most often in Discord right now is, what do you buy to upgrade the deck? And I think what we're going to do is we're going to have days where we grind, like this day, and then we're going to have days where we specifically focus on a deck and take the wild cards that we've earned and the packs we've opened, and we try to upgrade the deck. So that is something that's going to come. Please be patient. I'm going to try to make a video for this every day. That of course is unsustainable. There will be days where I have to actually leave my house and do other things, but it is my goal, my plan, to make videos for this every day. So hopefully there'll be a lot of content for you for your arena journey. And our opponent with a pair of blue mana here, I'm gonna play the Scrapheap Scrounger. We can't play around counters this early. And if our opponent has an Essence Scatter or a Censor, this going to the graveyard is not a bad thing. However, you'll notice I didn't play my Swamp because I sort of want my opponent to use the Essence Scatter there, and when we play the Swamp, it shows that we can get this back easily, which is probably what our opponent doesn't want to see. So let's keep getting in there. Bomat Courier, really a nightmare for control. They have to find a way to kill it, or it keeps adding more cards, and eventually just becomes a real pain for them. So with the mana that we have, I'm going to go for the Harvester. Let's see if it resolves. It may not. If it gets countered, that's okay. We would expect blue mages who pass the turn doing nothing to have a lot of these counter effects. And the sooner that we get them to play all their counter effects, the faster they'll run out of them. All right, let's play our Inventor's Apprentice. Opponent lets that resolve. I don't think they want to use a Settle a Wreckage just on this Bomat Courier, and I'm not ready to sacrifice it just yet, but our opponent doesn't know that. Let's throw it at them, see what they do. Settle the Wreckage being a card that, like, if you attack with a bunch of creatures for 4 mana, 2 of it white, can take out your whole board. Let's see. Our opponent might have a Fumigating coming. That's one of my bigger concerns. But they're still at 16. I'm actually going to hold off, because what I can do instead of playing this Scrounger is, if our opponent Fumigates, we can get back a Scrounger on end step, and then we still attack them next turn. And if our opponent does nothing, we can Lightning Strike them on the end of their turn. Both of those are better than just playing the Scrapheap Scrounger. So opponent land go again. So on their end step, here's a Lightning Strike for your face. How you doing? All right, we draw the 4th land. I'm going to play that before combat in case something inspires me to sacrifice this Bomat Courier. But let's keep attacking. All right, all the damage is done. We now have 5 cards under our Bomat Courier. I really am tempted to just say go again, but I think going for a Scrapheap Scrounger here is fine. So we'll tap like this and play the Scrounger. Our opponent really doesn't want to counter something like that. And if they have the Fumigate here, it's okay. We'll live. Teferi, the hero of Dominaria, aka Teferi, the villain of Dominaria. Let's see what it does.
I am not going to sit this one out.
Okay, he's plussing. So our opponent's going to draw an extra card. And then on their end step, they're going to untap 2 lands. They may take this opportunity to kill a Bomat Courier. I'm trying to decide whether or not to Lightning Strike them now or later. Because right now they are 1 card shorter on information and their lands aren't tapped. Or aren't untapped. But I think I just let it resolve. If our opponent does Fatal Push this Courier, we can get it back. So we'll move to end step. They go to untap their lands, and if they use a disallow, like a counter spell on this Lightning Strike, that is fine. They're gonna scoop it. So they played their Teferi. It's just gonna die. I guess they didn't like the card they drew, and they're just gonna leave. Which, okay. Our card reward is a Sand Strangler. Not something you can use much ever since Ramanop Ruins went away. And we have some packs. We're on 5 wins. We're going for that 7. This has been a longer video, and I said before, there'll probably be longer videos. Part of it is that I have to explain all the things, and it's specifically focused at new players. So if you're experienced and this isn't helpful to you, you know all this stuff, and the games aren't what you're looking for, you are welcome, and I mean welcome, to go watch the other videos. That's totally fine. I think I'm going to keep this. I have a turn 1 play. I'm missing a turn 2 play. If this had a Scrapheap Scrounger or a Heart of Kiran or a Kari, this hand would be perfect. It doesn't, but it's really close. And for an artifact to pump our apprentice, we do have Pia Nalaar coming right up. Plus we have a really powerful card in Skysovereign and Chandra. So I'm going to keep. Also, you've seen I've played Blue-White Control, and now I've played Esper Control. We were able to win both. So I know that playing against control decks is very hard for new players, but if you play something really strong and aggressive like this deck, you don't have to be afraid. You won't win all your games, but you'll win enough of them. Enough to kind of, maybe control won't tilt you as bad as it seems to tilt some of the players in my Discord who seem very, very, very angry about it. As long as you can beat them a good amount of time, I don't see a lot to get upset about. Unbridled Growth lets him tap the land for a mana of any color or sacrifice it to draw a card. And here's a Druid of the Cowl. So our opponent already with some blocks here. So this is an interesting spot. If I play the Chandra first, our opponent will definitely block because they'll know there's no way for me to do anything to their Druid. But if I attack first, the opponent might block. And if they block, then we get a free, or if they don't block, we get a free damage. These creatures can't kill each other. The only thing that we can do here is make our opponent think that we might be able to kill the Druid. So we get a free point of damage with what we call there a bluff attack. And now we play the Pia Nalaar. It's counterintuitive because the Thopter makes the apprentice bigger, but do realize if we had done this first, the opponent would just block, and we would not have gotten in any damage. So our opponent, we didn't have a way to kill their mana creature. I really wish we had. And now we get to see what happens next. Here's an Elvish Clan Caller and a Seed Sculptor. So it looks like our opponent on an elf deck. This is the key card. It pumps all the elves. The bad news is we're falling behind. The good news is Skysovereign Consul Flagship can really help. But for this turn, I think the play is to get Chandra onto the battlefield. Chandra could have, we could have played our tap land, but Chandra can make mana too as its second ability.
You and I are gonna take him out.
So it's possible we'll use Chandra to cast Skysovereign next turn. This turn we're going to use it to kill something. Without question, we can't keep letting our opponent get further ahead. Now we could take out the mana creature or the Clan Caller, and I think the Clan Caller has to be the right answer.
Don't you hate that burnt hair smell?
So now we have attacks, but I really don't want to lose Chandra. So I'm going to attack with the Thopter in the air, but that's all. The other creatures are going to focus on protecting Chandra, because while we are in sort of a race, the best thing we can do is get Skysovereign onto the battlefield. And that is awesome. Our opponent used a Reclamation Sage to take out our Thopter before seeing the Skysovereign. They could have another one, but it's worth being excited about. Oh no, not Rabid Bite. This means, oh, our opponent had to tap the Druid. So we still have a block. Our opponent can't get to Chandra yet. So Chandra survives. We will now make mana with her. And
this is gonna hurt.
Indeed it will. And now we'll play our Skysovereign Consul Flagship. And what do we kill? I think the Druid of the Cowl is the biggest problem right now, but it can't kill the Chandra. Whereas Reclamation Sage, if it gets through, can. But we have cards like Walking Ballista, really like cards like Reclamation Sage. I think we'll take out the mana producer here. Yep, just thinking. Yeah, let me know. And no attacks. We want to continue to defend Chandra to the best of our ability. All right, another Llanowar. If the opponent double attacks here, they're going to lose their Reclamation Sage. And Chandra will go to 1 and still be alive, as we can block with the Apprentice. So no good attacks. Opponent says go. But if now that they've used their Reclamation Sage, they're in a lot of trouble. All right, so I have 7 mana worth of plays in my hand. I just want to empty my whole hand.
You're going down.
So we're going to make more mana with Chandra here. Here comes Scrapheap Scrounger. We're going to crew with the Scrounger on the Skysovereign. Every time this card attacks, it does another 3 damage to a creature. Or a Planeswalker, if our opponent had one of those. We're going to take out, again, I think taking out the mana is wise, although there could be a double block on the Apprentice, so I guess I'll take out the Sage this time. Leaves my opponent without good blocks. We're going to take a huge hit. Then we're going to deploy our Heart of Kiran and our Pia Nalaar. It doesn't matter which order we do it in this case. And our opponent, just no more, please. Please, no more. I can take no more. And we have won a deck. So we'll have a new deck to go over and edit. Probably at the start of the next video. Of tomorrow's video. Trust me, every day won't be entering Quick Constructed and playing with this deck. Although that will probably be a regular feature, as it's good to always enter Quick Constructed, grind some gold, and have a competitive deck to do that with. So you'll probably see this deck and other competitive decks that we're going to work on making stronger and stronger. And if you have more time, if you have much more time than I'm putting into these videos, which I'm trying to keep to a little over an hour a day, then playing multiple Quick Constructed events with the red-black deck, the mono-red deck, or the black deck is probably the best way to build up more gold, more collection as fast as you can. So you are going to see me recommend a lot of Quick Constructed. What we're probably going to do next video is work on that Kicking and Screaming deck that we just won, and take it into Brewers Delight and show that, because Brewers Delight is a good way to pick up some cards to build some different decks. I really don't like 5-land hands. And these are a good 2 cards. It's a good 1-2 punch. But if we never draw anything more powerful, I don't think these 2 cards can win the game for us. I'm going to mulligan it. When you are aggressive, I don't like keeping 5-land hands. Not unless the other cards are absurdly good. Like, what would make me keep that? Actually, I'm not even sure. Now, this is the risk. Sometimes this happens. We've run very well. Remember, we're 6-0 for a reason. We're going for 7-0. It's not likely to get to 7-0, even with a good deck. It takes luck. So a little bit of bad luck has caught up to us. We're going to try to make it work out. Heart of Kiran is one of those really strong cards that I really want to keep here. And it is a good 2-drop. The problem is, what if I don't draw a way to crew it? Or what if I draw multiples? That's another big problem. If I draw 2 Hearts of Kiran in a row, it's like an even worse situation because they're legendary. So I'm going to bottom this with a heavy heart. All right, Ballistas, it's all up to you. If we're going to 7-0, it's going to have to be because 2 Walking Ballistas, 3 Walking Ballistas stood tall. Let's get one onto the battlefield right away. Normally, I don't like playing them early, but when you have this many, and your opponent shows you an island, it's a good idea too, because they might be relying on their counter magic. And if you're playing big Walking Ballistas later, it's not good. Those are easy to counter. So what we most need to draw right here, opponent discards a Commit to Memory after drawing 2. Okay. What we most need to draw right here is a 3-drop. That's a 4-drop. Not perfect, but I'm going to keep deploying my Ballistas. We're going to... Our opponent's showing us a very control-y looking deck, which means we have to be the beatdown. And if we have to be the beatdown, we have to keep playing things. And hopefully these Ballistas, we figure out a way to nickel and dime our way through our opponent. Manalith. Alright, looks like some kind of paradoxical engine storm deck, the kind of which I've played on many occasions, we do have to put them under a lot of pressure to have hope. So, in come the ballistas. And here comes a Chandra. Oops, I don't think I want to use my only energy here. Our opponent might have a sweeper. We'll pay 1 life, it'll be red. My biggest concern here is Hour of Devastation, which with another red source would wipe the board.
You want to go, tough guy?
But I'm not playing around that right now. I can't
This'll
afford to. We are definitely the beatdown against a deck like this. We have to be aggressive, and we are on a mulligan. Our hand is not well suited to being aggressive. Okay, is it going to be an Hour of Devastation? If our hand isn't well suited to being aggressive, we can't stop. All right, they got the Gilded Lotus. Everything is going exactly as you hope. If they have a Paradox Engine and another spell next turn, they go off. I don't think we win. And then you wonder, could we have done anything, really? You know, with this hand, with this draw, would we have gotten there? I don't know. Let's plus Chandra for the top card.
You're going down.
It's a Bomat Courier. That's not bad. It doesn't hurt our curve. So we can play this Bomat Courier. So we could play a Ballista for 2, or we could pump a Ballista. I think pumping a Ballista is the same-ish effect. So let's do it. All attack. Our opponent will have a ton of mana. The question is, do they have the combo? Can they finish the game? This is the test. They do have a memory, so they can try to draw into it anyway. Here we go. Paradox Engine. All right. All our opponent needs is a spell here. The other weird thing about the Paradox Engine deck is that it does fizzle. It can fizzle. All right, blink of an eye will bounce Chandra. Nothing we can do about it. So we'll see what our opponent does here, whether they make it or not, whether they pull off the combo, and we'll see how fast they're going. If they play absurdly slow, we'll just leave. But if you haven't seen this before, I have a YouTube video just made for this specific deck, and it is a very fun deck. It can go off here, like what did we took? We took turn 5, so this is their turn 6. That's about right for it. Turn 5 or 6, it can do it. All right, so here is Supreme Will. The idea is now that Paradox Engine untaps all their permanents, they just keep going through their deck, casting spells that find more spells, and making more mana with each spell they cast because they keep untapping their mana creators. Once they have enough mana, they'll play a Walking Ballista or a Banefire, and that will end the game. Sorry to be a spoiler in case you didn't want spoilers. That's not how it works here. All right, I'm going to concede. Now that our opponent has pull from tomorrow, I'm confident that they will get the job done. And we do take a loss. It was a tough hand. That was simply a situation, and it's important to recognize these when they happen. Our opponent had a very good hand for their deck. We would have had to have a very good hand for our deck to really beat it. And we had to mulligan to 5 and didn't have a good hand. It's just the way it goes. Don't go scrapping your deck. Don't immediately go changing the deck because of it. Try to do that based on actual information that happened over time. Is this the same opponent? I feel like this is the same name. Maybe I'm making this up. You shouldn't be matched against the same opponent playing Quick Constructed, but let's find out. This hand is much better, and we can keep it. We have a turn 1 Cinder Barren tap land, turn 2 Heart of Kiran, turn 3 Pia Nalaar, attack with Heart of Kiran, and do lots of fun stuff from there. It's lacking a removal spell, so I hope we draw one. Skysovereign, though, if we get there, can function as removal. Yep, I think this is the same freaking opponent. Let's see how they do against a better draw from us. I've never been matched against the same opponent twice in Quick Constructed, so I'm a bit bothered by that. I didn't even know that could happen, but here we are learning. All right, let's see if they have a response here for the Pia. We saw some of their deck. They have cards like Supreme Will. I don't think they have cards like Censor or Essence Scatter. It's very hard for decks to play something like that. Now, Blink of an Eye, they could definitely have a Blink of an Eye here and just try to avoid taking 4 damage, which would be good for them. All right. The opponent using it at that time is a fine idea. It does speed the game up instead of waiting until we've decided if we're going to attack or not, so that's appreciated. Our opponent misses their land drop. Oh man, that's a crucial stumble and gives us a lot more hope for this game. I feel like the opponent might have another blink of an eye from what they're doing here, but let's play the heart. They know about it. Shouldn't be a great mystery. And let's play the Skyship Raider to try to up the damage output. Kari Zev can't crew Heart of Kiran by herself, which is why we don't want to run too many. But man, can she deal a lot of damage by herself, attacking for 3. And with Menace and First Strike, she's very hard to block. Now, she's only a 1/3, but her 2/1 Monkey does a lot of work. So there's Supreme Will. Opponent likely looking for a land or combo piece. If they didn't play a Mana Rock there, and by that I mean a Manalith or a Shard, a Power Stone Shard, feels like they may need to find one. Especially when they're doing that main phase. Feels desperate to me, which that's exactly where we want them. So we're going to send in our team here. And I think the best thing we can do is just have Skyship down. It means our opponent has to hold up Blink of an Eye mana. The other option is to play Heart of Kiran, Shock, and Pump once. Let's think about that for a minute. So I'm going to let my opponent know I'm thinking like a nice person. So if we pump once, we do 8, 9, 10, 11. No, wait, that's crazy. If we pump once, we do 7. Then this is 8, 9. Then, so then the next turn, they're at 8. So the next turn, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We can beat them despite a Blink of an Eye. Whereas if we play the Skysovereign and they have Blink of an Eye next turn, we do not kill them. So it is much better right now to pump an artifact creature once, shock our opponent's face, do the damage, go to the main step, and play the Heart of Kiran. So that's one of those trickier combat math situations. If you're learning MTG, just kind of play out the next 2 turns in your head. Against a combo deck like this, the quicker is better. You have to be as quick as you possibly can. And you should play around cards you've seen. And since we've seen Blink of an Eye, we can assume our opponent may have another one. All right. Our opponent's going to scoop it up. They cannot win. So we get Vengeance. We get to 7-1 here in Quick Constructed. We claim our prize. See red. How appropriate. And now we claim our prize. That was for the game. This is for the event. 1,000 gold. We open a Demon Lord Belzenlock. I think our black deck will love this card. And a Muldrotha the Gravetide. That is a fun build around Sultai 3-color card that we might use someday. All right, let's check our packs for the day. So we have 7 packs. I believe we got some of them for the weekly reward, and some of these might be gift for when you start out, and some of them still could be because of that stress test a few weeks ago. So if I have more packs than you do, hang in there. I don't know why. It might be more than a new player today gets. But let's open them up and see what we get. Not a lot of playable cards here. A Crucible of Worlds is a fun build around, but it won't do much for us at this stage. All right, Mist Caller. Another one that doesn't do much for us at this stage. I've seen these cards a lot. If you want to watch this on slower speed or pause the video to read all the cards, you're welcome to. Essence Scatter is an excellent card, and we're very happy to have it. We'll surely need it somewhere.
To come.
Tezzeret, the Artifice Master, is a very good card for our blue artifact decks that we're going to work on in the near future. All right, a common wild card can help us build whatever we need. The rest of these are not particularly great cards, but there is an Infernal Reckoning. This is also not a very great card, so sadness. Cards that are so narrow, they say they only kill a black creature, they only kill a red creature, they only kill a colorless creature, aren't very good, generally speaking. Here is another Shock That is a good open and might go in our red deck. There's an Anticipate, definitely goes in a blue deck. Blanchard Armor, definitely in a green deck, so this is a very good pack. And a Johnny's Welcome, there's a budget token deck I just made a video for today that loves this card. Our winner, Goblin Trashmaster. So someday, perhaps we do Goblin Tribal, and this matters. All right, an uncommon wild card and a common wild card. Just the more wild cards you see at this stage, the better. Also, we've got these wild card counters over here. We fill them up when we open packs. That's why it's important to keep opening packs. Clan Caller, excellent. If we do elves, we'll want that card. We saw it earlier in Quick Constructed. Dragon Egg, we've got an uncommon and a common. Manalith we saw in that combo deck, maybe someday. And a mythic wild card. Excellent. Great opens there. All right, let's go to the home. So let's head to the store, and we get a one-time opportunity to purchase a welcome bundle, but you have to purchase it with gems. You can't purchase it with gold. And what that means, quite honestly, is that's not free to play. So as we try to completely avoid purchasing gems in any way, we're going to stay out of it. We're going to stay the heck out of that welcome bundle. All right, so now that we've unlocked the new deck, Kicking and Screaming, into our collection, we can take a look at that. It's got Shivan Fire, it's got 3 Llanowar Elves, Goblin Chronicler. Another Lightning Strike is excellent for a red deck, actually. So we're going to go through in our next video and work on upgrading this deck, figure out what to add to it. We're going to play it in Brewers Delight and see if we can unlock some of the cards in Brewers Delight. Ooh, Painfire. Sweet. Sweet goodness. And we got a rare dual land. So there's some good stuff in here. I look forward to improving it and seeing how it does in Brewers Delight. Also, we'll make some changes to that red-black starter next time we play it. Surprisingly, we didn't kill 25 of our opponent's creatures. It'll have to wait till next time because this video is already very long. But let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Is this helpful for you? Does this give you what you need? As far as crafting guides to make the red-black deck better, I plan to do that on Thursday or Friday. Towards the end of the week, we'll take a deck that we're working on and we'll do some crafting with the wild cards we've earned to make it better. So that is coming. I know that's the most requested thing. I want you to know it's coming. You don't have to ask me for that. It's on the way. Let me know what you think of the format. Let me know if it's helpful to you. Let me know if I explain too much. Let me know if I explain too little. Ask me questions. Join the Discord. We have a section just for new player questions and for deck lists to help you out. All those things. But this video is long. I've got to end it now. I'm talking myself into a corner. Thank you so much for watching. It's been great. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to join Discord. I'm CGB, and I'll see you later.